In his essay Philosophical Methodologies of Critical Race Theory, Lewis Gordon outlines the philosophical methodologies for critical race theory. In Western academic analytical philosophy, five major areas can be identified. Metaphysics deals with the nature of reality. Epistemology deals with the study of knowledge. Axiology deals with value and ethics. Social and political philosophy explores how communal living's value differs from individual existence, and the philosophy of various specific fields explores disciplines like law, physics, education, mathematics, etc. Each of these philosophical subdivisions possess its own elements encompassing the substantive methodological and normative aspects. The substantive elements encompass historical facts, including the authors, their works, and their conceptual relations to the other developments in the philosophical tradition. Methodological aspects refer to the logical, analytical, and other discursive tools employed in problem solving, as philosophy, like any discipline, views itself as a means of addressing problems. Lastly, the normative dimension involves the prescriptive and speculative aspects of philosophy, encompassing ideas about how things ought to be. Critical race theory primarily uses the genealogical method, the storytelling method, the dialogical versus monological method, standpoint epistemologies, and the new socialism as a more humanly collaborative practice. Michel Foucault developed the genealogical method, drawing inspiration from Nietzsche's genealogy of morals. This approach emphasizes the production of epistemes and how power shapes the creation of knowledge. By doing so, it compels a re evaluation of the historically contingent nature of knowledge. Foucault's genealogical method historicizes knowledge and truth, revealing how power, a product of reason itself, perpetuates its own privilege. Philosopher Rick Roderick describes this method as reversal, taking the perspective of the standard history and reversing it. Marginality, taking the focus off what has been thought to be central and look at the excluded. Discontinuity, dropping the idea of necessary progress and looking for breaks and catastrophes. Materiality, looking at practices more than at ideologies. Specificity, taking single instances to illuminate larger points. These five genealogical methodologies, reversal, marginality, discontinuity, materiality, and specificity, derived from Nietzsche by Foucault, have become contemporary critical race theory's central modalities. Gordon explains these five genealogical methodologies in detail. First, reversal. Reversal involves interpreting history as a process that constructs power, often favoring a powerful elite. An example of this can be seen in the case of Plessy versus Ferguson, 1896, where critical race theory's reversal of historical perspective highlights the construction of the value of whiteness as a protected commodity by enfranchised whites. This perspective suggests that Plessy was not solely a result of post Civil War racism, but also emerged from the need to establish a property right in whiteness, drawing inspiration from John Locke's ideals of ownership. This concept grants whites the supposed right to legally protect the property they have improved in themselves. The margins of this reversed discourse lie in challenging the dominant power structures that uphold such constructions of privilege. Second is marginality. Marginality involves bringing back to the center what canonical accounts have displaced or considered peripheral. Critical race theory deploys this method to re examine power dynamics and perspectives that have been marginalized. Drawing inspiration from Nietzsche's notion of reversing Christianity from morality to an immoral religion of the herd, and Foucault's ideas in discipline and punish, the genealogical method centers on reversing the focus from the dominant center to the marginalized. Foucault's analysis, particularly in the context of Benthamite panopticon, illustrates how power is reversed from an external, all seeing gaze to an internalized, self carceral, and punitive space where individuals internalize feelings of guilt. The micro power operates in intricate ways, permeating society like capillaries. Charles Mills emphasizes the significance of bringing marginal voices to the center as a transformative and radical approach. By unearthing masked power that hides behind centralized posturing in various aspects of society, such as gender, race, or jurisprudence, inconsistencies can be revealed as more than historically contingent. Canonical analytic philosophers often criticize Africana philosophy as being limited to historical contingencies. However, critical race theory's use of reversal and marginality demonstrates how theoretical biases shaped by class power are ingrained in existing structures. In the case of critical race theory, it scrutinizes the structural majoritarian biases in the US legal and economic systems and advocates for a decentering approach to analyze and challenge these biased structures. Third is discontinuity. Methodologically, central to critical race theory is the concept of discontinuity, which challenges the traditional notion of progress as a uniform attribute of historical processes. In the context of Euromodernity, there was little skepticism about the idea of progress being a human invention. A linear and monotonically increasing scientific paradigm led to an overly optimistic view of human rationality, where reason was considered legitimate as long as it produced desired power conditioned outcomes. This continuity of progress created a predetermined interpretation, stifling alternative perspectives. The idea of progress, often viewed through a teleological lens, influenced interpretation of historical evolution and the determination of precedent law. In legal contexts like stare decisis, the principle of following previous court decisions, the illusion of continuous progress was maintained even when practice showed discontinuities and failures in achieving equality. The passage of laws itself represented progress, but the lack of effective enforcement revealed discontinuities in practice. Critical race theory sees these discontinuities not as anomalies but as opportunities for transformative paradigm shifts. Two prominent examples are the legal cases of O.J. Simpson and former Washington, D.C. Mayor Marion Barry, which were perceived by the majority community as failures of the legal system to administer justice to the obviously guilty. Instead of viewing such occurrences as isolated incidents, critical race theory suggests using them as sites for creative paradigm shifts and subversive tactics. One such tactic is jury nullification, where jurors acquit a defendant they believe to be guilty, expressing a judgment against the legal process itself. This subversion can expose the discontinuities structured into systems of global white supremacy. By disrupting normative accounts and telling different stories concerning law, race, politics, justice, fairness, and equality, critical race theory aims to provoke transformative changes. Disruptive practices, rather than adhering to traditional ideologies, become vital in revealing and challenging structural biases. Though this approach, critical race theory, seeks to dismantle oppressive systems and develop alternative, non criminal ways of addressing antisocial conduct, considering the context of racial and economic subordination faced by African Americans daily. Fourth is materiality. Critical race theory draws on deep philosophical roots, including Karl Marx's 11 theses on Feuerbach, where the concept of materiality takes center stage. Marx's final thesis, philosophers have hitherto only interpreted the world in various ways, the point is to change it, underscores the importance of practical action and transformation. Rather than merely theorizing about the structures of justice and equality, critical race theory employs a material analysis that focuses on how ordinary human practices shape and maintain ideologies. Materiality as a concept helps understand the production of tangible and intangible elements such as commodities, ideas, social constructs, and even human beings, forming the basis for analyzing dominance and subordinance relations. Sandra Bartke's insights highlight how workers, when stripped of control over the products of their labor, undergo a process of inner impoverishment and fragmentation, subject to the control of others. This notion of material expropriation and alienation is a key aspect of critical race theory methodology. Race critics use material expropriation to explore how dominance subordination relations are perpetuated through the exploitation of concepts like sex in maintaining patriarchy, race in upholding white supremacy, and law in sustaining white privilege. Such fragmentation and alienation make human subjects more susceptible to domination. For instance, being gendered involves the expropriation of sexuality for the purpose of fragmentation, alienation, and material exploitation. Legal conceptions in Western societies play structural roles in delineating the boundaries of these dominance subordinance relations. Critical race theory practitioners recognize that political systems claiming to be derived from necessary first principles are, in reality, contingent mechanisms that protect material production practices. They understand that jurisprudence is inseparable from the structural materiality of the society in which it operates. By making dominance subordinance relations visible and revealing their imbrication in the material constructs of power, critical race theory aligns with Marx's goal to bring about change. Fifth and final is specificity. When critical race theory employs the methodological approach of specificity, it confronts significant postmodern philosophical dilemmas concerning the tension between the universal and the particular. Throughout history, Western analytical philosophers have favored universal cases over specific ones as philosophy emerged as a response to combat relativism. Early Greek philosophers sought to establish truths, beauty, knowledge, and goodness that transcend individual conceptions, leading to a preference for regular, law like generalizations over the specific and historical particulars of reality. Postmodern thinkers criticize the emphasis on universal truths, viewing it as a failure of modernity's philosophical system building. Postmodernism questions claims to universal understanding and advocates for historicizing grand abstractions. Philosophers like Foucault reject the notion of an internal position of certainty or a universal understanding beyond history and society. Instead, they focus on historicizing supposedly universal categories like human nature each time they encounter them. In postmodern thought, the tension between the universal and the particular is resolved by emphasizing the significance of the particular case. This approach challenges the common inclination to prioritize the universal which often stems from our desire for generality and a contemptuous attitude toward the particular case. Critical race theory aligns with postmodern philosophy by recognizing that there are no grand narratives or totalizing explanatory systems. Instead, it embraces specificity and the individual's voice, privileging human particularity over universal judgments. By doing so, critical race theory avoids being overly captivated by ideologies and instead focuses on people's experiences and perspectives. This methodological shift from universal to specific resonates deeply in philosophy, spanning various traditions such as Kantian deontology and the Frankfurt School. It involves moving away from universal, all encompassing axiological judgments and embracing the unique perspectives of individuated human beings situated within historically determined and socially constructed realities. Critical race theory's emphasis on specificity recognizes the value of human particularity and highlights the importance of individual voices, contrasting with totalizing systematizations. In conclusion, critical race theory emerged as a formalized framework drawing from various philosophical currents, including the critical tradition, the existential tradition, traditional and contemporary continental philosophy, and efforts to reconstruct liberal and socialist political ideologies. It serves as a comprehensive analysis of race in its conceptual, political, economic, and ontological manifestations. Initially rooted in law schools and philosophy departments, critical race theory has found its way into various academic disciplines such as African American studies programs and feminist studies. The methodologies employed in critical race theory, such as genealogical method, storytelling, and a critique of capitalism, raise questions about epistemic and legal neutrality. Unlike many grand narratives, critical race theory, along with other postmodern philosophies, avoids barricading itself behind disciplinary boundaries. Instead, it engages with legal and political institutions in the context of race and intersects with the specificities that shape individual identities and collective communities.